Last night in Loudoun County, parents protesting critical race theory indoctrination were singing the Star-Spangled Banner as a protest song. A couple people were arrested. One man was arrested for trespassing because he refused to back down until he had his ability to speak and challenge what was happening in these schools. Last night, we also hosted Steve Bannon on the Timcast IRL podcast. The conversation was fantastic. We talked a lot about populism, about workers' rights, about what's going on with the fourth turning in China. But a lot of the core issues in the culture war and what's happening, well, these topics are censored. So we had them over at timcast.com, doing the best we can to make sure the conversations still happen. But if we just come out on YouTube and say a bunch of things and get banned, what's the point? So go to timcast.com, become a member, check it out. But more to the point with this story, why I bring up Steve Bannon, is that he said we're winning. The populists. Steve is all about bringing left and right populists together. He doesn't like the Republicans. He doesn't like the Democrats. He said the populists are winning. You take a look at what's happening in Loudoun County, he said. Come August 15th, when the parents have to start dealing with what Fauci and these rules and what's going on in these schools, yeah, you're going to see moms snap. Now, this was interesting. Bannon said that the French Revolution didn't happen until the women had enough, came out of their homes, went and dragged the French royalty through the streets. It was when they finally snapped. There was a major change. And he says now, with what's happening in these schools, you're going to see mothers, well, they're going to start snapping. There's a lot of issues around what's happening, for sure, related to like mask wearing and things like that. But I think the real big issue here is critical race theory, because they're telling children to either hate themselves or hate others. Now, look. The left will tell you they're not saying to hate anybody, but we oppose hate. They're not going to these kids and saying, hate yourself there. They're saying, well, you're white, therefore you're an oppressor and you're wrong. And what your family did is evil. And you have white privilege and all these things. Negative. Telling people that what they are is bad for some reason. And these are children. When I was a little kid, I remember I used to come home and my mom would ask me what I learned in school. How many of you experienced that? You come home, what did you learn in school today? Well, for me, it was like, I learned, that Christopher Columbus discovered America. And this is the story I tell. My mom would be like, no, Leif Erikson was here before him, Native Americans before him. But imagine a little boy, a little girl comes home from school and the parent says in one of these counties, so what did you learn in school today? And the little boy says, I learned that all white people are bad, evil oppressors. And they're going to be like, wait, what? That's not knowledge. That's ideology. Of course, the left keeps pushing the lie, but nobody's teaching critical race theory in schools. In the most technical sense, that's true, but they are teaching the theory they are applying the theory in their teachings. So we'll put it this way. What the left is arguing is that to teach critical race theory would be to read the musings of Kennedy, D'Angelo, Kimberly Crenshaw, Derek Bell, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What the right is saying is that the theory as it exists is being taught to children. It's being applied as theory, right? So when you teach someone evolution, you're not showing up and saying, here's the writings of Charles Darwin. What they're doing is saying, here's how evolution works. And we call that teaching evolution. They are teaching critical race theory. I just say the easiest way to put it is they're applying the teachings of critical race theory into the curriculum, because it's more than just telling someone that there's white privilege or whatever. It's beyond that. What they're doing is they're creating math programs that are rooted in critical race theory. They're saying 2 + 2 can't equal 5 because there is no truth but power and objective reality doesn't exist. Well, Jack Posobiec says this, and then I'll read the story. When the Star-Spangled Banner has become the dissident song, understand what part of the movie we are in. That's a really great point. And it's kind of creepy to see the protesters singing the Star-Spangled Banner. Well, here's a story from Fox News. Virginia's Loudoun County School Board silences public comment after raucous meeting and 2 men are arrested. Loudoun County School Board meetings have become major events in the community. I'm gonna mention something real quick. I literally live next to Loudoun County. I can walk there in about 10 minutes. In the middle of nowhere. If I got in my car, I would be in Loudoun County in about 40 seconds. No exaggeration. That's how close I am. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking maybe I take this. We have this mobile production studio we bought. We haven't set up properly yet. It's a fifth wheel trailer. So it's like it can be expanded and we can put chairs. And the goal for this was to be able to do tours cheaper than a tour bus, much, much cheaper. And we haven't set it up yet. But I'm thinking maybe what we can do is I'll look into this. It's going to be a task. Take the trailer with the mobile studio setup, go to the actual area, because I live next to Loudoun County, but we're still, like 20 minutes away from where all this stuff is going on. Go down there, or a little bit more. And then find someone who's sympathetic, who's got a parking lot. We'll set up the RV, and we'll do Timcast IRL live in Loudoun County near these schools, and everyone is invited. That's the plan. I'll see if I can pull it off. We would need to probably do it by like next week, but that's the idea, to actually go down, interview the parents, talk to people about critical race theory, maybe see if we can get someone like Christopher Rufo to come down. That would be fantastic, and make it something big. You want to arrest people because they are challenging the lies and the manipulation. Nah, I won't stand for that. And a lot of people are going to come out and say, back the blue, baby. Bro, it was a guy standing in an empty room demanding that he have the right to speak because he came there and he filed and he was legally allowed to, and the cops arrested him. And one of the cops, he said, I have a First Amendment right to speak. And one sheriff said, you do, but at this point, the meeting's over. I don't think these cops understand how the First Amendment works. When you are in a public meeting and you are peaceably assembling to express your grievances, you're allowed to do it. This wasn't a guy in a movie theater refusing to leave. This wasn't a guy in a shopping mall saying, I'm not going to go, I'm going to speak. Well, it's private property, sir. This was a public event about the schools, about governance, and I think it was wrong for the cops to have arrested him. The cops should have said, meh, let him speak. Public event, board members want to leave and shut things down. Too bad. This guy's got a right to do it. Nah, the cops were just like, you're under arrest, because they don't care. And this is what a lot of conservatives need to understand about many of these police, at least many of the ones who remain. They don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about your kids. They don't care about the future. They're just doing their job. I don't accept that. This is an ideological battle. So let me just say one more thing and then we'll read the story. This is huge. This may be one of the most important stories in the country right now. Bannon gave me some optimism, to be completely honest. He said, we're winning. What do you think is going to happen when all these parents start having their kids go back to school and critical race theory is now the law of the land across the board? These battles with the school boards are lighting up across the country, and the media is desperately trying to lie and claim that no one's being taught critical race theory. Of course, there are a lot of dumb people who just believe it. It's funny that they believe it without actually doing an investigation. But liberals are less likely to have kids, so maybe that's the issue. It doesn't matter if you're a liberal or conservative. Bannon said many of these mothers, if you say Trump to them, they will spit on the floor. But when they see what's happening to their children, they get angry and they're showing up. He's right. Loudoun County, this is just outside of D.C. I mean, this is the very, very blue area. I went to the skate park in Loudon. It's a great skate park, by the way, Catoctin. And there were people there like skateboarding wearing masks. And I'm like, you don't even have to wear masks outside. Like, what are you doing? But that's how much they are in line with the mainstream and establishment thinking, and they're scared. That's Loudon. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's also a gun store there. It's got a lot of guns. So it's not like everyone there is like a diehard Democrat or anything like that, but it is just outside of D.C., so you get a lot of Democrats. These are people who are outraged and do not want their children being indoctrinated. Fox News reports. The embattled school board of Virginia's Loudoun County cut off public comments during a fiery meeting Tuesday as residents traded barbs over new transgender policy proposals. The meeting followed weeks of protests from district parents who oppose some of the measures, which they have criticized as potential left-wing indoctrination and a violation of parental rights. The policies affect transgender student rights, privacy and restroom accommodations, and would require Loudoun County public school employees to use students' preferred names or pronouns. An official school board vote on the proposal is not expected until at least August 10th. So maybe we do that. Maybe on August 10th, we bring our mobile studio down and everyone's invited. I need to have some conversations before I commit to that being absolute. But I would say, me personally, I definitely want to do it and I would intend to. However, there could be some logistical issues. The first thing we'll need is somebody who's near the school board who's got a parking lot to allow us to bring this big trailer. I want to see, I want to see, man, I'd love to make it a big event. I'm not talking about any kind of like, raucous protest. I'm talking about, maybe a big barbecue, maybe that people will have some beers or something. I don't know what the rules would be for that. Maybe we can file a permit or whatever. Not that I think we need one necessarily, but you make it a big event. We'll have the trailer set up. We'll invite people to hang out. We'll meet and greet. We'll have some of the parents come in and talk on the show. And then we'll have, burgers, hot dogs, all that good stuff. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? I think that's something we should definitely do. I'll look into it, see what I can muster up. And if you are somebody who lives in the area, I'll put out feelers in the area because literally, like I said, it's like 40 seconds and I'm in Loudoun County. But to get to where the school board is, it's actually a bit further. So I'll reach out to some people, see if I can get in touch with any of the parents, and maybe we can organize something big for when this vote's going to come into, when they're actually going to have the vote. They go on to say that it is the policies had become a hot button issue in the district where 259 residents signed up to speak during the public comment section Tuesday, and people lined up at doors early to get seats and packed the auditorium. The first half dozen speakers were in support of policy proposal 8040, but fireworks erupted when the seventh, who identified herself as the mother of a transgender Loudon student, was booed after saying hate was dripping from the followers of Jesus in this room. A swipe at Christian parents in the district who have argued that transgender discussions should be held at home and not in public school. The board called a 5-minute recess to let things cool off. After the recess, board chair Brenda Sheridan said members had voted unanimously to end public comments if the room erupted again. The board is here to hear from everyone. We started our meeting early because we knew we would have a large crowd and we had a large agenda. We ask that you respect each other and everyone is allowed to speak. Residents approached the podium to weigh in on both sides of the transgender proposal, but others brought up several other high-profile incidents in the community. Multiple parents asked the district to drop its appeal of a court order to reinstate teacher Tanner Cross, who was suspended after speaking out publicly against the proposal. They argued that fighting the judge is a waste of taxpayers' money and doomed to fail. Another woman urged several board members facing a recall effort to resign and save taxpayers even more money. Others blasted a district official who allegedly made threatening internet searches on a district smartphone. Interesting. Former State Senator Dick Black, a Republican, excoriated the board over its treatment of Cross and allegations that progressive community members had organized a list of their conservative neighbors to harass and publicly shame. The chamber erupted in cheers, prompting the board to vote 9-0 to end public comment for the rest of the meeting, which led to loud chants of shame on you, directed at the board and demands that members resign. The large number of conservative parents in the room began singing the Star-Spangled Banner as the board members filed out. At least 2 people were arrested as parents cut off from speaking before the board remained in the room to deliver their prepared remarks to others in the crowd. One of them refused to leave until everyone had an opportunity to speak, and deputies told him that he would be arrested for trespassing if he refused to follow their orders to vacate the room. Hey, back the blue, right, baby? Good job, officers. The first man was issued a trespassing summons and released. A Loudoun County Sheriff's Office spokesperson told Fox News Tuesday evening. The second allegedly was acting disorderly and displayed aggressive behavior towards another attendee. A second adult male was acting disorderly and displayed aggressive behavior toward another attendee. Now, that I understand. There, if you don't get into fights, the violence is wrong. And I'll throw it out to Bannon again. He said, he was opposed to the violence. He's opposed to the January 6th stuff. He supported the January 6th commission because he's like, we're winning. This is it. They're desperate. Anybody engaging in violence is going to hurt these movements. And it's true. I've been saying it over and over again. There are a lot of people who are for some reason mad about it now. Anybody who comes out and supports violence, they're a Fed. Sorry. I know they're probably not really a Fed, but I'm saying that somewhat in jest. They want to cause destruction to the cause of liberty and freedom. This is not the 1700s anymore. Violence is bad. Very bad. This is victory. Peaceful protest. Proving your point and watching parents stand up. When violence breaks out, that's when the cops shut it down. That's when the left says, look at all these violence, and that's when all these violent individuals. And that's when you know the media will immediately use that to manipulate. So you can't do it. And I know a lot of conservatives don't like the idea, but I'll put it this way. It's an uphill battle. You are fighting uphill. They have the high ground. They have the media, the cultural institutions. You must be peaceful, persuasive, and resourceful. And I think perhaps, in talking with Steve Bannon, it sounds like he's saying it's inevitable because what did he say? He said the Democrats have no mandate. They barely have the Congress, the Senate, and the presidency. They have these offices, but they're struggling to pass things through, and they know they're going to lose in 2022, so they're ramming things through like crazy. Think about that. What happens in 2022? There's a lot of people who are saying something really funny. This is hilarious. That the I'm going to say it. The Republicans could sweep the House and then elect Donald Trump as the Speaker of the House. Apparently, it's never been done before, but it is constitutional, which would be absolutely hilarious. I wish something like that would happen. The Republicans win and they nominate Trump, and then sure. But it stands to reason. With the crushing defeat the Democrats faced in the House in 2020, they still hold the House, but they lost a lot, especially in what were considered to be solid blue areas. It stands to reason that 2022 is going to be overwhelming Republican, especially with these battles. The Democrats are not standing up for the working class. The Democrats are not standing up for working parents, and parents are getting pissed off. So the worst possible thing in the world would be violence from the right. At this point, the right need only sit back and say, I told you so. Go out and advocate. Share stories like this. That's why I'm talking about, maybe taking the mobile production studio down to this meeting and having a barbecue of some sort to create a cultural event, have people meet, shake hands, share ideas, create that space to communicate peacefully. Oh, definitely peacefully. It is incumbent upon all of these individuals in the families in Loudoun County to denounce, reject, and throw at anybody who would propose any kind of violence. And I'm not even talking about civil disobedience. If I am to come down and do the show, I would absolutely reject any protest. Let me explain. I don't want anyone blocking roads. I don't want anybody shutting down the streets. I don't want anybody waving signs. No. We're going to have a barbecue. We're going to show support by standing around, eating burgers, or vegan burgers if you're vegan, you live in the area, and just making it more of like a live show, a festival. We can show that people there are peaceful, intelligent, willing to have a conversation. And I do think there are potential risks. But this is the thing we got to do. We got to challenge this. We got to prove that we are right. And we have to make sure that people understand that these people, these board members, are spineless and feckless. And the woke left are indoctrinating children. There are many things that should be left for parents to teach. Now, I find this fascinating because it's reminiscent in some ways of the battle over evolution and creationism that I remember when I was younger. Not the same by any stretch of the imagination. Now, listen, evolution is scientific theory, and some people don't believe in it. It's fine. But it is mainstream modern scientific theory that talks about the development of species. That, I think, is correct. Critical race theory is not science. Telling children about privilege and all of this stuff is ideology. Telling a small child that a homeless white man is privileged and an oppressor, that's ideology. That's not science. Of course, we are political scientists, and we say, shut up, political scientists, get out of here. We're not talking about a control group where we can look at, one culture, a fungus culture and another, and then apply glucose and then see the differences. We're talking about a bunch of people who believe insane things, who are rewriting history and are pushing an ideology and a fascistic moral framework. That's very different from evolution. When I hear there's a widely accepted scientific theory, hey, I'll tell you this. When I hear people say climate change, global warming, I say, okay, teach the kids about it. 100%. And I'll tell you this. If they really were teaching academic critical race theory, like they went to the kids and said, we want to show you a book by Derek Bell, I'd be like, okay. They can show what the theory is if they're teaching it critically, objectively, meaning here we have the writings of this individual and here's what they think. It is not definitive. It is just an individual and what their claims are. I think that's fine. What's happening, though, is they're telling kids outright. They're setting policies outright about critical theory. They're telling kids not to speak to their parents, not necessarily in Loudon. I don't know if they're doing this in Loudon, but in many places they're telling kids like, don't let your parents know what I told you because they're oppressors and they're evil. It literally has happened. There have been pictures and there have been families who have come out and talked about it. When we started doing remote learning over COVID, there was a teacher who actually said they were scared because now the parents are going to know what they're teaching their kids. And they were teaching the kids critical race theory. They were teaching the application of, to be more specific. So this is what we got to do. First of all, these cops, Arresting the guy who was getting, violent, he was bleeding from his mouth, whatever that was. I'm not going to blame a cop for stopping a fight. This guy who wants to stand around, they should have been like, okay, dude, stand around. Speak your mind. They arrested him. He got a summons, so I think it was I guess you call it an I bond. I don't know what they call it in Virginia. It wasn't the end of the world or anything like that. But people need to stand up and speak out, and that's what's happening. I think Bannon is correct that with all of these parents coming out, and especially across the country, we're talking about Virginia, which is blue, blue, blue across the board. Isn't that funny? Virginia goes totally blue in every branch. And these parents are saying enough. I think more and more parents are going to start standing up and speaking out as the year progresses. And Bannon's right about August. When all of these moms send their kids to school and those kids come back and start saying, Mom, you're evil. I hate you. They're going to be like, wait, what? No, I'm not all about that. But it's not just about white families either. A viral video showing a black man talking about how he's like a supervisor, a medical professional. He's not oppressed, and he's sick of these schools telling his children they are. Imagine this. Imagine a school teaching your children they are lesser than. Nah, I would never accept that. No, I grew up on the message of this is America. You can be what you want to be if you work hard enough. You can be the president if you work hard enough. Unlike other countries where it's hereditary monarchy or something like that, or you got to be born into nobility and landed gentry. Not in America. In America, it is all about the work you do. And that's why the American dream still exists. That's why so many people desperately want to come here, because they know that they can succeed. But imagine a school telling someone, your child, no matter what you do, no matter what, you will always be oppressed. You will never succeed because of the white man. I would be livid. I have to think about these things, because I talk about being part Asian quite a bit, and I'll tell you why. Let me give you a real example. I've actually had to consider what would happen to my children if I wanted them to go to a good school. They'd be excluded. I was told when I was younger to lie and say I wasn't Asian, to just say if anyone asked that I was Hispanic or something. Just tell them you're Mexican or something, because if you tell them you're Asian, they'll discriminate against you, and they're allowed to do it. That's the world the progressive left is building. That's the world they want. That's disgusting. I should be able to say my race is irrelevant. What's funny is that a lot of conservatives feel that way, that race is not relevant to its merit. But the left is adamant. Race is relevant, and it must be seen. And Don Lemon goes on TV and says people must see him as a black man and all that stuff. I recognize racial issues. I did a documentary about it several years ago. But people should be treated based on treated or judged on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. We'll see what happens in Loudon. I'll do some digging and see if we can muster up some kind of event. So I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.